You're listening to the Savoir Faire Audio Experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire Experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Savoir Faire Audio Experience. Thank you guys for sharing and listening and doing all the things that you do. We appreciate you so much. Want to continue to bring you really excellent interviews, and today's really no exception to that. I love connecting and working and talking a little bit with music artists because there's just such a unique thing that I kind of connect with in my own world. So today we're talking with Nate Bernardino. How you doing, Nate?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for finding some time to chat with us a little bit and talk about the band and this new single you guys just released. And Nate and I were just kind of reminiscing a little bit about Nashville because that's where he's based and where I used to be based. But yeah, it's very cool to kind of connect and just talk with other fellow musicians too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. So I want to kind of start things off today, Nate, by just learning a lot about you, I guess, because you're the one I'm talking with. And then maybe you can tell me a little bit more about SecondSELF, which is the band that you're a part of, and how you guys kind of got your start and where everything kind of kicked off from.
For sure. You want some background on me?
Yeah, some background on you would be excellent. And then if you could just tell us a little bit about how the band got started and how you guys all met.
Yeah, well, like you and I just talked about, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, just off from downtown. Been here for, over 15 years now. It's hard to believe. And I originally came from West Michigan, where, I started tinkering around with the guitar at a very young age, maybe like 12 years old or something like that. And, I never had the aspirations to make it big per se. I didn't move to Nashville for music. I came down here just for life, career, etc. But I've always been, for a very long time, kind of a punk rock guy. And there's a very small, I guess, few but mighty underbelly type scene here, in the shadow of the country and Americana scene that's happening here. And just through the network, through the grapevine, I ran into a couple of other guys that were kind of part of this scene, and we kind of congealed and became what we decided to call SecondSELF a little over 5 years ago. And then from there, we just kind of tinkered around. It was just kind of a garage endeavor for a number of years. We put together an LP that we didn't really even expect to formulate and churn out as quickly as we did. And then just continued kind of tinkering around for the fun of it and playing just for the love of punk rock and the local scene until we were able to play kind of an unofficial club show at Punk Rock Bowling 2 years ago, where we met Brandon from Punkerton Records, and we kind of just kept in touch. And then we recently put our newest endeavor together, our record called The Current Descent. We went and recorded it with a guy named Matt, who actually plays drums for Less Than Jake, at his studio here in Nashville. And we kicked the idea over to Brandon at Punkerton Records, and boom, boom. Next thing you know, we signed with Punkerton, and we're doing more of a formal release.
Awesome. That's really cool, man. I love to kind of hearing the progression of how things kind of develop, so I appreciate you sharing that. Where did the name SecondSELF come from? I mean, was it just three guys sitting in a room trying to figure out what are we going to call ourselves, or was there something more meaningful behind it?
No, honestly, it really was us kind of kicking around ideas. And I'd like to say it's got some super deep meaning. It doesn't. We just, we're kicking around a few different ideas, and that was one that we thought was cool. It was one that sucked the least at the end of the day. So we just went with it. And yeah. And, band names are kind of funny unless if you just land on one that is just fantastic. It's one of those things where just like any piece of art that you do, you're going to continue to critique yourself. Say, oh man, we should have done this. We should have done that. But it's still all good. You know, that's kind of what we landed with and ran with. So
That's cool. I always let my marketing and my PR brain kind of kick in sometimes, and I think about these things, and I'm like, Second Self, there must be some way where they're like just chilling. I could see it like in a garage, just talking about it, and be like, you know what, like like you just mentioned that you came to Nashville for a job, not even for the music scene, but still we're kind of playing around with, you know, punk music and your guitar or whatever. Like you basically are now launching your second self in a way, right? So I mean, the band name kind of reminds me of something like that.
it connects with people on different ways. Just like any song, the lyrics, you can kind of develop your own meaning, you know. And we've heard lots of people say it resonates for one way or another, you know. It's funny, I've written songs where I put the words down and I kind of have an idea of what I think they mean. But then as they sink in and after you live with them for a minute, it takes on the whole greater, bigger identity. You know, so that's kind of the fun thing with, you know, art in general, music, etc.
Yeah. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well, obviously you're in Nashville, and I was really curious about this too because that's my old stomping ground. I always kind of considered it a piece of me, and I know that obviously it's like country, gospel, Americana, like there's so much of that music kind of being created there, but there is this very cool kind of underground scene where you can get and dabble with jazz and blues and all these different other genres of music. And you guys being a punk group and kind of being based in Nashville, like when people probably hear that, it sounds like, well, that doesn't really line up correctly, but there really is kind of a deep underground scene of punk music in Nashville. So talk to me a little bit about like kind of how you guys are moving around in the city and what the music scene kind of looks like for you guys being a punk artist compared to being a country artist in that environment.
Yeah, like I said, you know, it's a small scene. We're few but mighty, but it's growing. I mean, Nashville is just exploding population-wise, and it's become such a melting pot that, you know, that's really represented in the music scene. You know, once upon a time, it did feel very, very much, you know, Music City, country music USA. Nowadays, you can get all different types of music, and you see all different types of people. I mean, there's been such a flood of people from SoCal, which is really, you know, where the punk rock scene still, you know, exists in a very strong way. And a lot of those people have moved here, which has helped bolster the punk rock scene, you know. So there's been more venues that have opened up over the past few years, and just more people that, you know, truly identify with that scene. So it's been pretty cool watching it grow. Again, I'm not going to boast that it's the hugest scene, but it's continuing to trend in that direction where there's more interest, there's more excitement, and we've got some pretty cool stuff going on recently.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's talk about some of the cool stuff you guys do have going on. I'm really curious about that. I want to let people know what you guys are up to. So, I mean, obviously you have this new record out. There's some new single out. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But what else is kind of happening for you guys in your career right now? Yeah,
well, we're tying in a couple of shows tied to the release of the record. So we're kind of calling it two different record release shows because we're going to be in two very different locations in the country. So we're kind of using that as a launch pad, you know, to kick off the record. So the record actually drops on the date that we're going to be playing that very same show I mentioned a minute ago in Las Vegas with Punk Rock Saves Lives, which is a really great organization, actually. You know, the audience should look into it. They do really good things for mental health, for substance abuse, for, you know, anyone who's running into a crisis. They're an organization that provides support. And the guy who runs that organization is also just a big punk rock music fan. And he puts on a number of different shows in various places around the country. This Las Vegas one, I believe, is his biggest one. So it's a really cool event that kind of kicks off the Punk Rock Bowling Festival, which is a huge punk rock festival in downtown Las Vegas. So that's one thing that we're really super looking forward to. That's going to be happening next on May 22nd. And then we have a show a couple weeks later at just a small club here in Nashville, Tennessee called Cobra, which really is kind of the main venue here in Nashville for the punk rock scene. So that's going to be another one where we're really going to be just kind of calling it our local record release. So those are a couple of things. We've got a few other smaller shows in between, but those are the couple of things that in the very short term we're looking forward to being a part of.
Yeah, that's super cool. The Nashville Cobra place. I looked it up this morning and was checking that out, and you're absolutely right. It is kind of like the forefront of the punk scene in Nashville, which is very cool. And then the other place in Las Vegas that you guys are going to be at, the Punk Rock Hoedown, right? Is that the name of the place?
It's called the Punk Rock Hoedown. That's the name of the concert. He has bands going every single day. It actually kicks off on Thursday and goes through the holiday weekend through Monday night. So he's going to have a bunch of different bands and pretty reputable bands that he usually pulls through. He hasn't made an official announcement yet for it, but it's awesome. I mean, he's had bands like Authority Zero and other pretty reputable bands that have played headline slots for this show. So it's a super cool event to be a part of.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's at a place called Hogs and Heifers, which is right off from Fremont Street, across from the Grand Hotel, downtown Las Vegas.
Okay, and that's on 5/22, which is literally a month away from today. That's going to be kind of your official release of this album, the current Descent, right? And then, so I was curious about the album too. I want to dive into some of this a little bit with you and talk a little bit about writing and creativity. So obviously this album is all punk rock. You have to really love punk rock to kind of understand a lot of these things, I think, but because it's completely different than other genres for sure. But talk to me a little bit about the process of, how the band kind of works together and you guys writing. Is there one person that kind of writes most of the material and brings it to the band and you guys kind of make it a Second Self song? Or are you kind of like doing it collaborative? Everyone gets together on Friday nights, we practice and write. What's the process of all that?
Yeah, it can vary a little bit. Usually someone comes with a riff or, a somewhat formulated idea of the song, and then we kind of polish it together. Okay. We're a three-piece, and between myself and Toby, who is the bass guitar player, we both come up with different riffs, and then we collaborate together after we've kind of got a seed of an idea. But it varies every time. I mean, sometimes I'll have a song that is just done, ready to go, and we'll all play it together and boom, boom, lock it in. This record, I had over half the songs that I came with that were pretty much done and ready to go, and the other half were ones that we kind of collaborated on some level to piece them together and like I said, polish them, make them a fully formed song.
Okay. I'm curious about like the songwriting aspect for you too. Like, is this something that you've kind of always just kind of done? Like writing kind of became second nature to you? Did you professionally study at a school somewhere? Like where does the music kind of aspect come from, the writing aspect of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a formally trained musician, especially from a songwriting perspective. At a very young age, I took guitar lessons for years. So I'm not completely self-taught, but from a songwriting perspective, this is something that just comes from the gut. Some of them you have to grow through to make them a finished product. Some of them just are a lightning bolt. Boom, there it is. The title track, The Current Descent, which is fairly straightforward. It's kind of a current events type song that came out during the first Trump administration. It's a pretty direct reflection of our opinions of how things were going at that point in time. But that one just came out of the blue. It was like I conjured up the words in about 30 minutes. And the song wasn't too far from that as far as the music as well. It just kind of came out of thin air and was there. And those are the fun ones to write because they just pour out of you. It's like they were already there. And some of them took a lot longer to polish and formalize, but I don't know that I have a secret formula for it, and definitely not a formula as far as the songwriting process amongst our band. That it's kind of each song has its own unique identity and its own unique process as far as putting them together.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you obviously pulled the current descent from kind of current events and whatever, but do you kind of pull a lot of the songs, ideas, things like that from kind of real life things, or is there another way that you kind of come up with creative aspects?
For this record, yeah, it's kind of a reflection of opinions and things that we're viewing from real life. Most of the songs are drawn from either personal experiences or observations that we've made based on either politics, world events, etc. It's not something that was purely deliberate, but I guess those are just the things on our mind that manifested in songs for this record.
Okay, cool.
Next one might be different.
Yeah, that's very possible. I know the creative juices kind of hit differently. I mean, when I was in Nashville and kind of writing quite often, I was always carrying around a small notebook in my back pocket. And when things hit me, no matter what it was, if I was kind of like in the car, walking, doing whatever, I would always write down the idea. And then later when I could get my guitar in my hand, it always turned into like a little bit of a strumming session. And then some kind of words would flow from that. And like you said, sometimes they go really quick and it feels awesome to have something written down in an hour and know like this is pretty solid. I'm very comfortable with this. And then other times it needs tweaks, and other times you get like one line and you never look at it again for a couple years, and eventually something kind of hits on that. So I definitely know that process a little bit, that creative process. So I'm curious about this other song that you guys just released that's kind of another single off the current Descent album, Grape Soda and Gasoline, because this literally sounds like something that I would have done when I was like on my way to Nashville, to stop at the gas station, fill up, grab a grape soda, hit the road again. But I don't think you guys have the same meaning. So I'm curious about what the song is about.
Yeah, it's not a traveler song. It's not about hitting the road. Grape Soda and Gasoline is I guess kind of a reflection of our opinions on, just rampant consumerism, some of the excess that happens, how people can, I don't know if I want to use the word greed, but excess consumerism is, I guess, the way I'd put it. Yeah.
Okay. Dive a little deeper for me. I want to know more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it's a window into politics, and I hate to constantly use that because it's such a cliche punk rock thing. But it is kind of the political policies that lead into some of the excess that I think Americans indulge in, and need, even though we don't really need.
Yeah.
So
no, it makes sense, man. And I don't want to dive into the political conversation either. I mean, we always go down different rabbit holes when we're interviewing people, but like obviously America has this very kind of thing where we're all buying in excess, and obviously the world political scene is like a weird mess right now. But like obviously we're in that stage. So Grape Soda and Gasoline is a reference to kind of that idea. Is that what you guys are kind of dabbling with?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because we just buy way too much crap. Like, we all need to be minimalist, honestly. It'd be a much better life when you have less things to worry about, for sure.
Well, that's exactly it. And the socioeconomic divide that comes from it. We've got these rich moguls that are, ever emerging, while the rest of us are kind of left in the dust, and that's just kind of another theme that ties to that sentiment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, man. Well, that's really cool. I definitely appreciate you, finding some time to chit chat with me and connect, talk a little bit about music. It's cool to see that there's a vibrant punk scene in Nashville, which I definitely need to come down and check out. But people can see you guys. Obviously, we just talked about that. We talked about Las Vegas on 5/22 at 6/14. At the Cobra in Nashville. Are there any other dates or anything else you guys are doing kind of regularly where you're playing out live in Nashville, or is it just those two major shows in the next couple months?
Those are the two major ones for the next couple of months. We're working on putting together a few other smaller runs as well. As it pertains to the record and big stuff right now, those are the two that I'm going to boast about.
Okay, sweet. And people can follow you on social media, I'm assuming. So you guys have Instagram. I found you there. SecondSELF1234 is the Instagram. Is there anything else you want to shout out there where people can kind of connect with you?
Yeah, we've got an Instagram. We've got our Facebook page. You can find our band bio and profile on punkertonrecords.com.
Okay.
So we're out there. So we'd love for people to check us out. Hopefully they'll enjoy what they hear.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, Nate, I really appreciate it, man. It's good to reminisce with a fellow Nashvilleian and talk a little bit about music. So I really appreciate you finding some time for me today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you giving me the time for sure. It was nice talking.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savfair.com and subscribe to our publication.